San Francisco, Chinatown, November 1969. It is 20 minutes past midnight. The streets are soaked from the falling rain. The salty fog rolling in from the Pacific Ocean takes on a yellowish hue under the neon lights of Chinatown. The crowd of tourists on Grant Avenue disperses long ago. Only shadows remain. However, beneath the surface, in the unseen veins of the city, life begins anew. The basement of the Golden Dragon restaurant. This is no ordinary dining hall. This is a purgatory that does not exist for those without an invitation, where East meets West, where illegal bookies stand side by side with Hollywood stars, and triad leaders with American politicians without ever touching. The interior fills with thick cigarette smoke, the scent of expensive perfume, and the sharp aroma of jasmine tea. Red paper lanterns on the ceiling spread the dim light across the room like mist. Muhammad Ali enters. The room holds its breath for a moment. He is not just a boxer, he is a walking protest, a lightning bolt, a deity. He is fresh from exile, his title stripped, but his aura is brighter than ever. He wears a midnight blue silk suit. The top button of his shirt is open. The moment he steps inside, the venue's center of gravity shifts. Waiters grip their trays tightly, whispers cut off like a knife. Ali has always loved this silence. His eyes scan the crowd. He is used to being the biggest, loudest, and fastest thing in the room at all times. But tonight, he seeks something else. Or rather, someone else. The story that has circulated for years gnaws at his mind. The legend told by dockworkers in Hong Kong, whispered by sailors. They call him the Master. Ip Man. According to what Ali hears, this slight man once devastated a British boxer, a mass of muscle of Ali's size, perhaps even larger, without taking a single punch. He floors him. Ali cannot believe this, or rather, he does not want to believe it. It defies the laws of physics. Floating like a butterfly is Ali's business. But a rock stopping against a mountain without shattering? This is impossible. Ali cuts through the crowd. People make moves to touch him, to shake his hand, but his bodyguards gently intervene. Ali's eyes lock onto the deepest corner of the hall, the point furthest from the noise and grandeur. He sits there. Ip Man, he is smaller than expected, much smaller. He wears a traditional dark grey cheongsam. The fabric is plain, his posture unpretentious. He holds a thin porcelain teacup in his hand. It is as if the chaos, the laughter, and the smoke around him do not touch him at all. He is focused on the magazine in his hands, completely removed from the magic of the environment. While he stands there on his own, as if isolating himself from this setting he hasn't been in for years, Muhammad Ali approaches his table. The massive bodyguards beside him build an invisible wall around the table where Ip Man sits, but the master does not even lift his head. He only looks at the tea he picks up and blows on it gently. Ali stands at the head of the table. His shadow covers Ip Man. "So, it's you," Ali says. His voice is booming, clear enough to be heard even in the most remote corner of the hall. "The famous dragon tamer." The music stops. The sounds of cutlery cease. The entire hall locks on to this moment. The mystery of the East comes face to face with the brute force of the West. Ip Man slowly lifts his head. There is neither fear nor admiration in his eyes. He looks straight at Muhammad Ali with deep, two-eyed focus. "Won't you sit, Mr. Clay?" says a young assistant beside him in broken English. "My name is Muhammad Ali," he corrects, without lowering his voice, "and I didn't come to sit. I came to get answers to my questions." Master Ip stands up. "In my culture, it is an honor to host a guest who comes to one's table. Please, Mr. Ali, sit." Ali pulls a chair and sits backward, resting his arms on the back of the chair. Ip Man picks up his tea again. Muhammad Ali is focused on Master Ip's face from a very close distance. His face is very close to Ip Man's. The difference in weight class between them is comically large. One of Ali's arms is as thick as Ip Man's calf. They told me a story, Ali says, staring into Ip Man's eyes. They said you floored a guy my height, my weight, without breaking a sweat. You broke the man's bones, but he couldn't even touch you. Ali laughs lightly, but there is more curiosity than mockery in this laugh. Look, I am the best in the world. I do the impossible. But what you did, it's like total magic. How do you do it, old man? It is completely against known laws of physics. Ali points to Ip Man's thin wrists. Your body is quite thin. You are like a twig that would break in the wind. Ip Man smiles. This is not a belittling smile. It is like a compassionate reaction. He takes a sip of his tea and places the cup slowly onto the table, onto the porcelain saucer, without making the slightest sound. Mass, says Ip Man, applies only to something stationary. But moving water has no mass. It has flow. It simply flows in harmony. Ali frowns. Don't give me philosophy. Show me the reality. Ali suddenly stands up. The chair falls back with a noise. The room turns ice cold. Bodyguards move, but Ip Man stops everyone by raising his hand slightly. The venue's staff comes to Muhammad Ali in fear. Sir, there is no fighting here, they say, trying to intervene frantically. Not a fight, Ali says, taking off his jacket and tossing it aside. He rolls up the sleeves of his shirt. His massive forearms are gagging in the dim light of the hall. Just a question, and I want the answer now. Ip Man stands up. He slowly leaves his tea on the table and moves away from the furniture. Ali turns toward Ip Man. You don't need to hit me, just stop me. If you beat that man, you can stop this punch of mine. Ali extends his left hand. He does not take a boxer's guard. He only measures the safal distance. Are you ready? Master Ip is so slow and effortless that it is as if gravity does not apply to him. He opens his hands to both sides, palms facing up, an open, vulnerable stance. This is not the famous Tan Sao stance of Wing Chun, but a more natural, formless state. Come, says Ip Man. His voice is like a whisper. Muhammad Ali does not hesitate. He is the world's fastest heavyweight. He is famous for throwing a jab that cannot be tracked by the eye. And now he throws a punch at this old man standing before him, using only 10% of his power, but all of his speed. Schlack. Ali's punch changes direction centimeters from Ip Man's face. Ip Man does not grab, push, or block Ali's wrist. He simply touches Muhammad Ali's energy and redirects his power into the empty space around him. Ali stumbles. He is thrown forward by the momentum of his own power. Ali is surprised. His eyes widen. This is luck, he says to himself. He tries again, this time a right hook. A deadly, destructive force. A blow that could topple a bull. Ip Man is still where he is. What he does is simply guide the movements like the wind. Master Ip enters Ali's dangerous range. As Ali's arm swings, Ip Man's elbow rises slightly, applying tiny pressure to the inner part of Ali's bicep, to the center of the muscle. This tiny movement disrupts Ali's entire balance. Ali's massive body shakes like a building trembling at its foundation. Ali gathers himself and pulls back. He is not out of breath, but his mind is in disarray. The man in front of him acts as if he rejects Ali's existence, rather than fighting him. Wherever Ali attacks, Ip Man is not there. But wherever Ali wants to go, Ip Man is already there. Muhammad Ali stops for a second and says, Okay. So, how do you do this? I haven't touched you yet, but I've spent quite a bit of effort, he says. There is no longer anger in Ali's voice. There is pure amazement. I am 3 times heavier than you, he says. Ip Man returns to his noble stance and puts his hands back inside his robe. He is calm. You are a rock, says Ip Man. Rock is hard. It is strong, but a rock does not move from its place. Water, however, flows around the rock. It finds the rock's cracks, and in time the rock turns to sand, but water is still water. It does not change. Muhammad Ali pauses. Hundreds of eyes in the room are on them, but Ali does not see them. Rings, training sessions, punching bags spin in his mind. For years he stepped into rings with the motto, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. But right now this motto serves no purpose, because the man in front of him is like the wind that guides the butterfly. Ip Man points to the teacup on the table. You cannot fill a cup that is already full, he says. Your mind is overflowing with your power. Slow down your mind to receive my technique. Ali, for the first time in his life, feels like a student in front of another. His shoulders drop. That aggressive, challenging stance leaves its place to a respectful silence. He slowly goes to Ip Man's side. He bows slightly in front of the man he wanted to knock down just moments ago. This is not a bow of defeat. This is one master recognizing another master. Show me, Ali says. His voice is softer now. Show me that balance. Teach me, Master Ip, he says. Ip Man smiles. He puts his hand on Ali's shoulder, on that steel-hard muscle. Ip Man's hand remains tiny on Ali's shoulder. But in that touch, there is the greatest power Ali feels that night. The power of compassion. The power of tranquility. Ip Man looks at Muhammad Ali with smiling eyes. First, tea, he says. The two sit at the table. The world around them, that noisy gala, those expensive chandeliers, those curious eyes wipe away. Only two warriors remain. One is the storm of the west, the other the still water of the east. Ali learns that night not to throw a punch, but to be the punch itself. And years later, in one of his toughest matches, in those moments when he is trapped on the ropes while applying the rope-a-dope tactic, in those moments when his body absorbs the blows and causes his opponent to miss, that night comes to his mind. He remembers that small man who defeated him without touching him in a smoky room in San Francisco. And Ali understands as he takes a sip of his tea. The greatest power is not the ability to destroy. It is the art of remaining in the flow. San Francisco. Time 01:15. Outside, the rain starts, but inside, the storm dies down, leaving its place to an eternal friendship. 3 months pass since that night. As Muhammad Ali returns from training, he remembers the fight he had with Ip Man in the basement of the Golden Dragon. He has learned so much from him, but he still feels there is knowledge left incomplete within him. The next morning, Ali stops in front of a small martial arts hall in Chinatown in a taxi. The building is ordinary, even a bit old. From the outside, it's a place no one would pay attention to. However, Ali had heard about this place before. This is one of the places where Ip Man's students train. He comes to the door, enters inside. He hears the soft footsteps and breathing rhythms coming from within. He descends a small, narrow staircase. Old Chinese calligraphy hangs on the walls. At the end of the corridor, there is a wooden door. He opens the door, and he sees him before him. Ip Man is making gentle strikes on a bamboo log. Each movement is like a whisper, silent. The master notices Ali's arrival but doesn't turn his head. He only completes his movements and stops. "Mr. Ali," says Ip Man, with his back turned. "I was expecting you." Ali is surprised. "How did you know I was coming?" Ip Man turns with a smile. "A storm like you cannot move silently," he says. "Your energy enters before you enter the door." Ali approaches. "Master Ip, what you showed me that night, I want to understand it. I want to learn more." Ip Man bows his head slightly. "The desire to learn is power itself," he says. "But learning has a price. Patience, humility. You must leave your ego outside the door." Ali thinks, ego. His greatest weapon. the thing that makes him most famous, but perhaps also his weakest point. I will try, says Ali, but I have one condition. I don't just want to learn. The world must learn. The wisdom of the East must meet the power of the West. A spark flashes in Ip Man's eyes. Continue, he says. Let's open a school, says Ali. His voice is excited, but determined. A place that doesn't just teach fighting technique. A place that teaches respect, teaches discipline, teaches balance. If we combine your philosophy with my energy, imagine. Future generations will learn not just how to throw a punch, but how to defend peace. Ip Man remains silent for a long time. Then he places his hand on Ali's shoulder. This idea is beautiful, he says, but opening a school is more than building a building. This is building a soul. Are you ready for this? Ali smiles. You teach me, I will be ready. From that day on, Muhammad Ali begins to visit Ip Man almost every week, sometimes in the early hours of the morning, sometimes at midnight. Each time a different lesson, sometimes physical, sometimes mental. One day, Ip Man tells him this. Fighting is not only with your body, it begins with the mind. If the mind is indecisive, the body is also indecisive. Another day, Ali tells Ip Man about his own tactics. The rope-a-dope. The strategy of tiring the opponent. Ip Man listens, then nods his head. What you do is what water does. It absorbs the attack, then you return. This is the fundamental principle of Wing Chun. You already knew this, you just didn't know its name. Ali is surprised. Was I doing Wing Chun? No, says Ip Man. You were doing Ali, but their spirits are the same. East and West are not really that far apart. Months pass. The bond between Ali and Ip Man deepens. Not just a master-student relationship anymore, but a deep friendship between two warriors. Ali tells Ip Man about the American media, tells him about his struggle against racism. Ip Man tells Ali about China's history, the pains of colonization, how Wing Chun was a form of resistance against oppression. One evening, while drinking tea, Ali asks, Master, do you think this school will really work? I mean, will people want East and West to come together? Ip Man smiles. People always reject what they fear, but when they're not afraid, everything becomes possible. We teach them not to fear. Ali nods his head. So, where will this school be? Ip Man thinks. Here, in San Francisco, where East meets West. 1 block away from the Golden Dragon, there's an empty building. An old warehouse. We can transform it. Ali gets excited. Yes, and the name. What will its name be? Ip Man remains silent for a while. Then he says, The School of Two Dragons. The School of Two Dragons. 1 dragon represents the East, the other the West, and together they protect the balance. Ali's eyes shine. Perfect. And we will be the guardians of that school. Guardians, repeats Ip Man. Yes, but not just of the building. Of every child, every young person, every person who learns at that school. We protect their souls. We teach them not just how to fight, but how to defend peace. Autumn 1970. Construction begins. Ali puts in his own money. Ip Man brings his students. Together, they transform that old warehouse into a temple. The walls are painted white. The floors are covered with bamboo. Both American and Chinese flags are hung from the ceiling. In one corner of the hall stand boxing gloves. In the other corner, Wing Chun dummies. On the school's opening day, it rains. But hundreds of people come. Journalists, curious people, athletes, children. Everyone wants to see the school these 2 legendary figures will open. Muhammad Ali approaches the microphone. You know me, he says. I'm the man who says he's the greatest. But today I will tell you this. Being the greatest doesn't mean being the strongest. Being the greatest means empowering others. Ip Man comes beside Ali. This school, he says, is not just a building. This is a bridge between the past and the future, between East and West, and most importantly, between you and your best version. Applause rises. The crowd rejoices. And that day, the doors of the School of Two Dragons open. Years pass. The school grows. Dozens of students come. Some are poor, some are rich. Some are black, some are white, some are Asian. But they all learn the same language, the language of respect, the language of discipline, the language of balance. Ali and Ip Man come to the school every week. Sometimes they teach together. Ali teaches speed. Ip Man teaches control. Ali teaches power. Ip Man teaches flexibility. And together they raise a generation. Not just fighters, but leaders. Not just athletes, but philosophers. One day, a young girl asks Ali, "Mr. Ali, do you think I can become a champion?" Ali smiles. "A champion? No." The girl is surprised. Ip Man looks at Ali. Ali continues, "You can be more than a champion. You can be a teacher. You can be an inspiration. Winning in the ring is easy. But winning in life, that's the hard part." The girl nods her head, tears in her eyes. Ip Man whispers to Ali, "Well said." Spring 1975. Ip Man falls ill. His lungs weaken, his energy runs out. But his spirit is still alive. He lies in a hospital room, but his mind is at the school. Ali visits him. He brings a cup of tea with him. "My master," he says, "I promised you, this school will be your legacy." Ip Man smiles. "No, Ali, this school is our legacy. You are as much an owner as I am." Ali's eyes fill with tears. "You taught me so much, not just fighting. You taught me life." "And you," says Ip Man, "taught me courage. A world champion coming to learn from an old man. This is the greatest lesson." Two men sit silently. They watch the sunset through the window. Ip Man's hand is on top of Ali's hand, not the hand of a master and student, but of two brothers. "Protect the school," says Ip Man. "Protect the children. And never forget, the greatest power is not the power to destroy. It is the power to create." Ali bows his head. "I promise." Ip Man passes away a few days later. His funeral is held in San Francisco. Thousands of people come, but Ali is in the front row. Tears don't flow, because he knows that Ip Man has not died. He lives in every student. He lives in every corner of the school.